Hello my friends, and welcome to Letters from Paradise, episode number 20. Jesus and his disciples are visiting a place called Caesarea Philippi, where a temple to the goat god Pan had been built on top of a huge rock mountain. However, this massive rock had cracked under the weight of the temple, the crack going all the way down to where the rock and the road met. And then it cracked the road. Steam would rise out of this hole, so the people of Caesarea Philippi called it the entrance and exit to Hades. Out of fear of being swallowed up by Hades, the people sought to appease the goat god by having sex with goats. There was rampant bestiality going on continually to appease the god Pan. Like the fracture in the rock, the people of Caesarea lived with fractured lives that had been made for true love, tender human affection, and the respect and meaning that flows from the beauty of divine love. These lives had become the broken victims of loveless religion, deception, and inhuman lust. Their lives were hell. It's right here that Jesus turns to his disciples and says, "Upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it." He's telling them, we can build a church here that will be unstoppable. I find this fascinating. We've become accustomed to saying heaven and hell in the same sentence, but Jesus never did. What he put side by side was church and hell. Here's Jesus' plan. It's to establish communities of lovers everywhere, families across the world where people can be walked out of Hades and given the assurance, respect and meaning they were created to know. Safe places of tender affection and deep joy. This is the church Jesus is building in the very places where hell once had its way. It's the Greek word ecclesia that's translated church. It means called out or summons to assembly. In Caesarea Philippi, people with a misshapen image of themselves and so full of shame were being summoned by love to experience a tender and pure connection with their fellow humans and with God himself. Of this kind of assembly, Jesus said, "Everyone will know that you're my followers because of the love you have for one another." St. Paul talks about these families like this: "I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth takes its name." Well, I know a little something about the family in heaven. It's a family of three. Tender affection, perfect trust, and unrestrained happiness flow amongst them. I think Paul is telling us that there's a family or families on earth who are just like that. Their love is so compelling that it calls people out of hell. It was an extraordinary privilege to have just started the spiritual journey of renewal around the same time Suzanne and I planted our last church. It was far from a perfect experience, but it was one in which we learned vulnerability, gentleness, simplicity and grace. We were supported by people no longer attracted to drivenness, excellence or the need to measure up. It was an environment where we grew immensely and thankfully where other summons people grew too. There's a wonderful shift taking place right now, a renewal where love and grace are being understood in the radical way they always should have been, where that concept of hell that arose in the Dark Ages is at last being questioned, and where Jesus, as the Saviour of the world, is being rediscovered. These are fascinating times as these shifts are taking place and more people are stepping into renewal and journey. I love the church, but I know that church, like the one Jesus said he'd build at Caesarea Philippi, isn't always easy to find. So if you can't find it, my friends, Be it. You'll soon find others who are also being it, gravitating to you. So, my friends, be brave in your journey. Be prepared to ask questions, to deconstruct when necessary, and keep layering in love as you rediscover, reconstruct, and renew. And may you find friends, find family, find community that is full of radical good news, is safe, affectionate, and is bringing heaven to earth. Shalom.